cool is that? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the platform Andrew Fisher. Why don't you give him a big hand as he comes to have a bit of a chat?
Thank you.
Great to have you here, mate.
Great.
So that thing is mad.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
How long have you been racing?
I started racing probably about 10 years ago. A couple of friends of mine were going to an endurance race and they needed an extra driver, and I didn't have a racing license at that stage. And so they invited me down and said, why don't you come down and have a go? And I did. I happened to be a little bit quicker than them, which was nice. And so, yeah, I thought, well, why don't we keep going and give it a go? And yeah, as they say, the rest is history. So,
what's the worst stack you've had so far?
yeah, look, in that same footage, a bit further on, there's a huge crash we had at Bathurst last year. I raced in what's called the Fujitsu series. It's the second tier series. That black car you saw at the end there, that's a V8 supercar. And so I was basically racing that last year, and I came over the top of the mountain. We're doing about 212 kilometres an hour across Skyline, and you come over the top and you go down through the S's. And basically, as I came off the top of the mountain, there was a guy that would actually lost it and was on the right-hand side of the circuit. And so as I came over the top of the mountain, I could see him there, and he was sort of out of our road. So I went to slide down the inside on the left-hand side, and just as I did that, he decided that he would rejoin the circuit. And he came across straight in front of our car, and we came together about 150 kilometres an hour. It was a pretty massive accident, about $65,000 worth of damage to a car. And yeah, you don't budget for that, and there's no sort of opportunity to go up to him and ask him for his insurance company's details. Doesn't really work like that, you know. Is it NRMA, is it Amy, what is it, sort of thing. But no, so you kind of get to pay for somebody else's mistake, and that's just, you know, part of motor racing.
So 200 is the fastest you've hit it on the with the Ute.
With the Ute, we do 260 kilometres an hour down Conrod Straight in the Ute, so it's pretty quick.
Anyone beat that?
My dad has. Where's he?
We have policemen in the audience.
Look, 260 kilometres an hour. But the thing about racing isn't how fast you go in a straight line. You can do that fairly quickly. You sort of get used to that. When we get to the chase, which is the right-hander, has anyone been to Bathurst or seen Bathurst? A few of you guys out there. Well, when you get to the right-hander at the bottom of Conrod Straight, basically instead of coming off the accelerator or applying the brakes, we stay flat through there at 260 kilometres an hour. So, one of the moves in the Ute last year was actually going around the outside of a guy through there at 260 kilometres an hour down into the braking zone. So that was pretty good. It sort of surprised him a fair bit. He sort of looked over like that, like, is that another car next to me? But yeah, look, it was it's great. It's a lot of fun to do that, and obviously the V8 supercar is just the next level up again as far as speed and all that sort of stuff. So we'll race the Ute there because we're part of the Yokohama Ute series. It's basically a series that races with all the supercar rounds. So we race at 8 rounds around Australia, 16 Holdens versus 16 Fords, and we've got a very strong following. Obviously, we race in front of 1 million live spectators. A TV audience of about 30 million around the world watch our motor racing, so it's very high profile. So I'll continue to do that. So 7:30 on the morning, the Bathurst morning on the Sunday morning, I'll be in the Ute, and then just sort of 2.5 hours later, for the first time ever, we announced that last week that we'll actually race in the main game along with Craig Lowndes, Jamie Whincup,
fantastic,
Mark Skaife, awesome. And that sort of stuff. So yeah, look, and the guys approached us and sort of said, look, would we be interested, and that sort of stuff. And they know our branding. Obviously, our branding's fairly unique, you could say. Not too many cars out there with Jesus on them that I've seen. And basically I said, look, well, you know my issue around the branding. I'm only going to do it if we have the branding. And they said, well, look, we've talked about it. We really want you to be a part of it. So we'll give you the front bonnet, we'll give you the side of the cars, and we'll give you the back. How does that sound?
Wow.
And so I said, yeah, okay.
That's awesome, mate. So tell me, Jesus on a racing car.
Yep.
I don't know that it's been done before.
No.
So you didn't copy anyone. What's the deal? I mean, obviously I've got no opposition to that. I think it's fantastic. But where does that idea come from?
Yeah, look, it was basically, I was at a men's conference a couple of years ago now, and I'd been racing for quite a few years, and I was tossing up whether or not we'd continue racing or not, or what we're going to do. I'd been in the Lotus Championship the year before and sort of came third in that championship. And so I was looking for new things, and I was actually challenged. A guy there was talking about whether we carry our faith around as a backpack. And what he meant by that was, do we actually go into different areas of our life and not show the same overtness? It's easy to come to church on a Sunday night like we are tonight and be overt in our faith because we're surrounded by people who also overt and they're into that. But when you go to your family, for instance, who maybe aren't Christians, or when you go to your work and they're not full of Christians, or when you go to school, or when you go to wherever it is that's your environment that you go to and there's not Christians there, are you showing the same level of overtness as you do in your normal life?
Fantastic.
And I'm no shrinking violet, so people in motor racing, they knew that I was a Christian. Channel 10, who were running the footage at that stage, had covered my family about, we were known as the nice guy of motorsport. We lent things to people, we helped people out. That was very unique. We actually lent a motor to a guy and it actually worked, and that was quite, quite extraordinary for someone else in motor racing to do that. And so it wasn't like I wasn't known, but I knew that I wasn't as overt in my motor racing ministry or in my actual motor racing sport as I was in going to church on a Sunday. And so I came home from this men's conference and said to my wife, Anne-Marie, look, I'm thinking about putting a fish on the back of the car, or John 3:16, something to link my faith to my racing. And she came with this great idea of putting Jesus on the car.
It's novel.
Yeah, that was popular. So as the story goes, I let her back in the house a couple of weeks later. It's one of those moments in your life when you sort of think about the two girls you're choosing between when you got married, and you're sort of thinking, did I make the right choice?
Oh.
But anyway, she's a good woman.
In trouble.
And by that stage, we had the kids anyway, so there wasn't much I could do. So I let her back in the house. No, but look, it was. Well, you got to understand, it was like putting freak on your forehead. No one's done it before. You're going into a community that knows you from a different experience, that have nothing to do with Christianity whatsoever, and you're now going and putting the name of Jesus in their face.
Yeah.
Right? It is a really challenging thing for that community to have a guy with Jesus all over his gear, all over his car. It's changed the culture of racing in Australia. The commentary, you hear the commentators. What do they do with it?
Jesus is coming up the inside.
The guy rings me and he tells me, Andrew, I've been thinking about you in the shower. It's like, okay, I'm not quite sure I want to go there. He goes, and I've got a one-liner. I just want to run it past you, make sure it's okay. And so, the whole community's been affected by the fact that we've done it. And look, it cost us dearly to do it in the first place because we had to walk away from commercial sponsorship.
I'm sure, yeah.
We had commercial sponsorship, and we actually had to say, my understanding of it, because I'm a marketer by trade, was that if I had have put any other brand on the car with Jesus, they would have referred to the other brand. And we actually had to give them no excuse but to call it the Jesus car.
Wow.
And that's what we did, I still remember the story when I rang up the guy that was basically running me in the Lotus. I rang him up, and all these series, they want to get you into their series. It's like, if you're